Hello, everyone. My name is Mirna, and on behalf of the Mindalia TV team, welcome to Mindalia live streaming, where thousands of people around the world gather daily to see the lectures and interviews organized by Mindalia TV. Today, with us, Angel Rebo, CEO, consultant, TV host, international public speaker, and president of the Wisdom for Kids Foundation, is with us with our very dear Sunny Chayes. Sunny is not only the host of this show, but also the host of ABC Solutionary Sundays. She is the feature writer and chief strategist for Whole Life Times, the longest running conscious life magazine in America. Sunny is a producer, moderator, and mythbuster, among many other talents. Before starting with them, we want to remind you that Mindalia's mission is to share information that can help raise the level of consciousness around the world. You can help us by subscribing to our channel, leaving us a positive comment down this video, or sharing it with someone that you know that is going to benefit of the content that we are going to be talking here today. Also, while we are live streaming, we have the active chat. Is the screen you're going to be seeing here on my side or under the video, in case that you're following us from a smartphone, and through there you can interact with us. We also want you to collaborate with Mindalia with your own valuable content. For that, you can go to our website. On the top, you're going to find the link that says Collaborate with Mindalia. That link takes you to a form that you can fill out for our technical team to be getting in contact with you. And remember that you can do your collaboration in English through Mindalia TV English, but you can also do it in Spanish through Mindalia Televisión and Portuguese through Mindalia Televisao. Visit our different channels and platforms, Facebook pages, Instagram accounts, and follow us, subscribe. Because with that, you are not only helping us reach as much people in the planet as possible, but you also keep yourself updated with the wonderful information that we share there on a daily basis. I'm not going to delay this any further, and I have now the great pleasure of leaving the screen to our dear Angel, Sunny, and a very special guest. You're going to find out about it very soon. Guys, welcome to Mindalia live streaming. The screen is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mirna, for having us again today and for this wonderful introduction. I am thrilled to have again Sunny Chayes, the one and only, the unstoppable, the unshakable, with her unstoppable guitar, with the tunes.
Thank you. Well,
enlighten us every day.
Oh my gosh. Well, this is, Earth Month. And as I always say, why can't every day be Earth Day? Because Earth Day is coming up this coming Monday. And so we have a very, very special guest and a dear, dear friend of mine, very close to my heart, David Christopher. And I thought it would be perfect to have him because actually, as introduction to our show today, I thought that I would say two quick things. I wanted to read my opening paragraph to the article that I wrote for Whole Life Times. Sort of looks like, see if I can do this with all these things in my hand, like that. And what I said, because this is how I feel so deeply, is I said, as I contemplated writing this article for Earth Day 2019, my heart hurt. For so many years, I've studied, written, lectured, sung songs, and hopefully walked the talk, enacting all I learned about our human impact on the environment. I did my best to minimize my personal and my family's carbon footprint, sharing about minimizing single-use plastics, touting the victory of laws banning straws in restaurants or other small goals, while important and necessary, still feels small and not enough. So here comes that weariness that falls over my soul. Isn't there a deeper connection we all have with Mother Earth, who sustains our every living moment? What if I understood the majesty and mystery all around me a bit more? What if I felt more deeply the love and support that all living sentient beings have for each other? Would I maybe open my heart to the nurturing energy in the form of nature, and that is keeping me alive, and find more profound conviction and love in my soul to do my part to keep it alive? And so that's kind of how I feel. And I thought, if there's some way that I can dig in deeper and that we all can dig in deeper, that maybe we'll have a much more real connection to not use things or to be more sacred with my earth. So I thought I would sing this little song for us. Is that okay with you, Angel?
Oh, absolutely. How can I possibly say no? You know,
Here we go. This is the song that maybe will open our hearts this morning. I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them blue for me and for you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue and clouds of white, the bright blessed day, the dark sacred night, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of the people passing by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies crying, I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world, the beautiful earth we live on. And I think to myself, oh, what a wonderful world. So that's my opening for today.
thank you.
I usually can't get through that song without crying, so I got farther than normal. But anyway, so that's my opening to Earth Day.
Beautiful.
So I think let's bring on David, shall we?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Thank you, Sunny.
David Christopher is, sorry I couldn't completely finish that song. Maybe at the end of the show I can sing the last line. David Christopher is a very, very important voice in the environmental movement, and he has a way of connecting us in such an incredibly deep way. He wrote a book called The Holy Universe, which, let me get it clear, I also like to call it The Seeker and the Sage, because it's a story of a seeker who is trying to just figure out what it's all about, Alfie, and trying to connect with his deep roots and just kind of his place in the world, and how to navigate. And so the sage takes him on a much, much deeper journey than he ever had any idea that he was signing up for. And David takes us back billions of years, all the way through, step by step, to here, and then into the future, into a new way that we can live on the earth, and with each other in a sacred, peaceful, abundantly gorgeous way. And so I love you, David. I love your book, as you know, and please come on, because I'm already all the clump today.
Thank you
and
so
by
much.
the way, Angel, I do have the candle burning here for you and for all of us. So hello, David, join us.
Oh, thank you so much, Sandy. Thanks so much for the introduction.
My pleasure. So just
and I didn't know
in.
that you could sing. I've known you for how many years, and I didn't know you played guitar and sang. So that's wonderful.
Oh, thank you, thank you. Well, I pull it out when I feel like it's needed. I used to, yeah. But anyway, so I'd love for you to chat with us, just kind of, what I was saying about how, connecting in a way that doesn't feel sad, and just the feeling of futility. How are you dealing with your navigation through connecting with the earth?
Well, it is something that you have to work on. It is something you have to consciously not continue to focus on the bad news, to turn off some of the podcasts however, it's really a balance between being real with what's going on, but not getting mired in what's going on. and also knowing that there's a much larger story, that perhaps there are much more powerful forces at work. There's, we had talked about some of the excerpts that you wanted me to take a look at, and
Yes.
that speak to that. In fact, there's one that I just thought of, if you don't mind, if I can.
Please, if that's okay with Angel.
Well, the thing is that this idea of being in a catastrophic situation is so easy to get mired up in that. And yet, Earth has gone through this so many times. Billions and billions of years ago, when life figured out how to do photosynthesis, how to take the sunlight to break apart water and mix it with air and to create new life. That was an amazing response to a famine that was going on on Earth. And this new ability to do this caused a problem. Photosynthesis actually was created in a time where Earth was very different than it is now. So let me just go ahead and read this one little piece about it. So, and this story is it's more of a more poetic telling of the scientific story of the creation of the universe and of Earth. And so, the photosynthesis, as I said, it had pretty maladaptive consequences. So let me start reading. Yet once again, catastrophe. For as the beings who seized starlight to strip apart water and air became stronger and multiplied, they gave off oxygen, a vile and poisonous fire that slowly spread and turned the color of the sky into an ominous, deadly blue. For this oxygen, this poison destroyed the waste of one that might have been food for others, rendered inedible the flesh of Earth, even penetrated the beings and killed them. Oxygen wrought havoc across Earth. It destroyed the swarms of the tiny beings, their food, and their colonies of life. So this is the interesting thing about oxygen, is that we think of it as the elixir of life in a way. And yet when it first appeared on Earth, it was a catastrophe, a global catastrophe. And so what happened is that the beings figured out, well, how to use this oxygen. There was an evolutionary leap in one of the bacteria, species of bacteria at the time, that figured out how to use oxygen as food to create another source of energy, to create more food for itself. And there's a little bit more detail, but out of this process created the complex cell, that if this catastrophe didn't happen, and if we didn't have that chance to have an opportunity to respond to this catastrophe, we would literally not be here. The complex cell that was created during that process would not have been created, and we literally would not be here right now. So just to finish this thought, thus the two beings joined together as one, the two beings which created the complex cell, using oxygen, the waste of another, as sustenance for itself. And this new being's waste, carbon dioxide, became in turn sustenance for others. Catastrophe begat creativity. Competition begat cooperation. The curse of oxygen became a blessing. All the tiny beings once again prospered and multiplied, filling the oceans of Earth. And the blue of the sky transformed from the color of death into the color of life. So what that can be used for is a metaphor for, when I read this out to audiences, I'll look out and say, does this global catastrophe sound familiar? Life creating a global catastrophe for itself, and then using that creating a creative response, having a creative response to that, to make an evolutionary leap that could not have been foreseen, an emergent thing that you just could not have predicted. Perhaps that's what we're going through now. This is the opportunity that we have now. And the trick is to be real with the catastrophe, but to not get mired in it, and stay with that larger story, that larger possibility, the larger ability of the Earth, the universe, to create something out of this catastrophe.
Wow, I wonder why this is not taught in elementary school all over the world. I mean, I have to say, I mean, it's the first time ever I hear this and listen to this ever. So thank you very much for sharing this with the audience. This is
Oh,
going
you're
to be
very welcome.
life changing. But you know what? I would like to ask you a question. Who
Sure.
do you consider yourself to be? Not what you do, but who do you think you are? Not in a bad way, but you know,
Right.
because this is a
Don't
very
worry, I've
powerful.
actually asked that question myself of who do you think you are? Who do I think I am? I am an expression of the great mystery. And I say that in as wide a vision as possible. The teacher that I work with really is clear that it is a great mystery. There is a strong desire in our culture, the Western culture especially, to have answers for everything, to know everything, to not have any ambiguity or anything like that. And that's part of what we get mired up into in our political arena. We want answers. We want simplicity. We want to know this is right, this is wrong. And so, but the reality is it's a great mystery that is, well, it's an unfathomable mystery. That's part of what one of the themes of the book is, that being part of this mystery means that you have to learn to be without having the answers be in a concrete language oriented way, and rather be in a more of an experiential way, and going towards other realms other than the mental, the intellectual, going towards the physical, the spiritual, and knowing yourself from that. And it's an enormous challenge. As I'm saying this, I'm beginning to repeat that question: who do you think you are? Because I know how I am in the morning when I'm trying to get out of bed, and when I'm dealing with the day-to-day stuff that we get ourselves into. So I don't want to hold myself as a stellar example of how to be, but certainly how to be with the struggle, and to know that it's okay to be in the struggle. So who I am is an expression of this larger universe, who we all are. And it's interesting, we do have this sense of, there's a story or a thought out there that we were somehow put on the earth, like we're this foreign presence. We're this, we came to earth. We are just as much of earth as anything else on the planet or in the universe. So in a really strange way, we are doing what the universe does, because since we're doing it, the universe does it. So the universe creates fantastic art. The universe creates language through us. The universe also litters. The universe also pollutes. And being with that mystery is really challenging at times. But that is the challenge that we're called to do, and to, I hope, have a creative response to take that next evolutionary leap, which is a lot of what you're doing with your work, focusing on those channels that bring forth that part of the story, and not just entirely all the bad news that's out there.
Well, if I might ask you, David, a question that we've played with a lot of times over the years is, as I'm listening to you chat, I'm thinking of all these large concepts that you're saying, and how the universe works in such mysterious ways, as we know. And also, I'm thinking of our place in it, and our place in the urban, kind of modern society that we've just stepped into in the last 100 years, actually. And I think that even though things are going, and I think, what can we do, and how do we hold our hearts in the process of, just get down to it, the environmental movement. In other words, what I was reading before about, yes, I'm happy about the steps that we're taking, not using straws as much, or plastic bags, or whatever. And one of the places that I've been, and I'd like you to address, if you could, is, sort of the balance. In other words, understanding that it's much, much bigger than me. Who am I to think I, Sonny Chayes, can, save the planet? That isn't how it rolls. And yet I, Sonny Chayes, have an opportunity to walk sacredly at every moment that I can in however I use anything that comes my way, not in a way as a audacious person to just think I can throw anything away. And, you know, so how do I, as the power of one, you know, walk through the world? What is that balance? So I just would love you to talk to that.
Well, it's something to go, you know, there's a couple things that come to mind. We do need to be aware of the individual actions that we can take and should take. But it's not only the power of the one, it's also the power of the collective. One thing that really surprised me when I learned about Gandhi's work is that you could interpret it as one person changing the course of the politics on the Indian subcontinent. And yet Gandhi had millions of dollars behind him. He had a lot of fundraising behind him. He had a lot of work done behind him. There were a lot of people who were doing work to help him make that happen. The same thing with Dr. Martin Luther King. He spent a good portion, I think if I recall correctly, it was about 90% of his time was spent fundraising to help fund what needed to happen. But he was also a charismatic voice in bringing forth a new way of looking at how do we deal with civil rights in the United States. So that's kind of a preamble to there is that strength in the power of one, but it's if you only think it's up to you, you can just go into a horrible place. Because if it doesn't change in the way you think it ought to change, then you could very easily just sink into the depression that, you know, perhaps you visited there. I've done that a couple of times myself. But forgetting that, yes, it's important to have those individual actions, but it's also important to have the collective actions. I mean, the sage in this book talks about how we need all actors. We need the philosopher storytellers. We need the, we need the storytellers. We also need the philosophers and the nuns and the monks who are holding space, perhaps out in the world, perhaps separated from the world, but holding, you know, it sounds a little out there, but just holding the energetic space for the rest of us. There is the activist who is actually protesting in the street. As long as that, well, before I get to that point, the activist, the helpers and the healers, the storytellers, which is part of what you're doing, is spreading the story. And the challenge that I find is, as I'm doing that work, to do it in a way that it's almost detached from the results. Well, almost, it is as much as possible detached from the results, because we don't know what the universe has in store for us. We don't know necessarily what the plan is. We think sometimes we do. And then when things don't go our way, that's where I can get trapped into this, oh, well, you know, it shouldn't have been this way. I needed to have it be a different way. And yet that's not necessarily what is being created. So I don't know if I got to that the answer to your question.
Well, I think what I'm always grappling with, and I'm always sharing in my world with people when I speak about the environment, and you know, that's why I sang the song "A Wonderful World," because you know, I could have sung "They paved parking lot," "They paved paradise," and put a parking lot. You know, I could have sung that song, which I considered doing, but I thought that, you know, don't they always need to know that we don't know what we have till it's gone, you know? So there's that balance. So singing this song, "What a Wonderful World," does make me cry, because it is a wonderful world. It makes me cry now, and there are a lot of things that are damaging it, you know. So it breaks my heart open in that way, and I just think that, you know, I do believe that if more and more people feel the connection to our magical trees and to our beautiful roses and the earth and the sky and the water and the fire and everything, that we do take action, and perhaps it is, you know, the power of one not using this or that. It's also politically, it's also, like you say, we need all the actors, the activists, the young people who are coming up. They're learning, the kids are learning in school to really, to, you know, to get real about not only recycling, that's sort of like old news, like just not even using and all of that kind of thing. Like, let's up level the whole conversation. So that's what I feel like Greta is doing in, you know, Sweden, who got the Nobel Peace Prize, 15-year-old young lady who's speaking out. So I guess that's really my tightrope, is that balance of keeping my heart open between it's a wonderful world and a paved paradise. If I might speak musically and metaphorically there.
Yeah.
Yes, and also the fact that, as you said very well, we tend to think that we ourselves are, you know, are something or someone put on the planet, and we don't consider. But it's the same with the environment. Just talking about, I was thinking, why do we call it the environment if it's us? It's just Mother Earth. I love the, you know, the term Mother Earth or Mother Nature. I love those terms because actually when you start, like, you know, earthing, when you earth yourself, when you walk on barefoot on your grass, you're actually, you know, aligning yourself with Mother Earth. And I've never tried it myself, but some people say that even your heart rate, your heartbeat rate, actually aligns with the planet. And as you were talking about this, I am, my office is at the top floor, so it was pouring down. It is pouring down right now, so I'm feeling the power of Mother Earth, you know, really literally right now on us, and telling us, hey, I'm here. And I'm helping you, and I'm cleaning you, and I'm cleaning your house, I'm cleaning the environment, I'm cleaning. We're just talking about the pollen before we jumped into the conversation, and you know, so we are all part of Mother Nature, but we're not sensitive, we're not aligning. So besides what you just said of what we can do every single day to, you know, to be more in tune with Mother Earth and the environment, and you mentioned that all these celebrities, or all these, well, both Gandhi and Martin Luther King, they were fundraising. So maybe we should be doing the same thing. How can we, you know, how can we pick that initiative? Because we are surrounded by initiatives. How can we pick our initiative, that thing that is going to bring us closer to who we really are? And we start, you know, we get out of our own egos, and we start doing it on a systematic way. You know, before we join into the conversation, so that everybody knows what kind of a gentleman David is. He introduced me to his son, that he was just going to school, and to his wife. So again, we are all part of the same thing, right? I mean, I felt the same way that you felt, Sunny. You always feel so, like, enlightened with your guitar, and we love to hear the tune of your guitar and the music coming out of your wonderful voice. It's all part of the same. That's why you become emotional. You become emotional. We become emotional because it's all part of those, you know, of who we really are. So what do you think, David?
As far as discovering what it is for you to do, that's part of what that's it. First off, that's yet another challenge. You know, people have families, they have work, they have, you know, we're in an economic system that requires you to put in a whole lot of time just to pay the rent, the mortgage, and the food and whatnot. But for me, I mean, there are millions of organizations out there, and that was actually kind of a hopeful thing to find out that across the globe, I forget what the last count was, but it was something around 7 to 10 million organizations that are working on ecological, social justice, and even spiritual issues with regard to us being on the planet. Certainly, one organization that I really love is Pachamama Alliance, which is an NGO in San Francisco that their primary focus is on rainforest preservation work in the Amazon, the south of Ecuador. but they want to create. They were challenged by the people that they serve in the Amazon, the Achuar and the Shuar, and the other nations that are down there, the indigenous nations. They've been helping them keep oil development out of their lands for the past 20 years. And it's a constant challenge because there's a constant desire on the part of the larger structure of our society to go in there and take the oil and cause an enormous amount of damage in the process. It's already happened in the north of Ecuador. We've seen what happens when they develop oil in the Amazon, and it really does an astonishing amount of damage. So they've helped them prevent that from happening. But the indigenous folks turned to them and said, the problem is not, it is down here, and we thank you for helping us here, but you need to go back to your part of the world and change the dream of the world, to change the story of modern mind. And they, of course, thought, well, okay, change the minds of 5 billion people. Okay, that's going to be a little difficult. And they kind of put that off for a while, because how do you do that? But through their initiatives, through an initiative called Awakening the Dreamer, it's a symposium that a person can take online, or they can attend it live. There's also something called the Game Changer Intensive, which looks at how do I create my life in a way that is supportive of bringing forth a new and environmentally sustainable world and a socially just world. And it's been translated into, I can't remember the last count, something like at least 10 languages, including, of course, Spanish, Chinese. I think there's actually a Swedish translation. It's really meant to help answer that specific question of what do I do? What is my part? And
if I can interject one thing, David, about the Awakening the Dreamer and Pachamama Alliance, that I really want to say too is that you're much more expert in that, and I'm more of I've taken it, but I'm more of like a proxy for people listening. It is an education in the way that is so powerful, because it takes us through step by step. It sort of breaks our heart open and then puts it back together. And it allows us to really go on that journey and to really learn the bits that we may not know, fill in the blanks and everything for kind of lay people who aren't necessarily scientists or people who really understand the environment, or, who are horticulturalists or whatever. So that's why I love those guys, because I think they take any and all people, any age and any place you're starting on the environmental ecological train, river, kayak, and again filling in the connecting the dots and really educating. And then a lot of the people who come into this, I believe, then become teachers, even in their community, or if they're school teachers, like you were saying, Angel. Then this information does get disseminated. So I think it would be great for our peeps out there to check out Pachamama Alliance for sure, and see, it's a way to really tap in and make a difference in your community. So go ahead, David. I didn't mean to interject completely that much.
And in fact, I mean, that's a lot of where this work that I created came out of, was through the Pachamama Alliance's work. A lot of the information and ideas came from their work, and that's, I just really loved it. I really loved the new story of creation, where it's told from 13.8 billion years ago, the creation of the universe, to today, and how we're just an unbroken part of that unbroken chain that's been evolving for these past billions of years.
What I love about your book, guys, I love this book so much. I want, you can get this online, right? The Whole Universe.
Yeah.
On Amazon and stuff. It goes through, I love how, I'm just going to read a little bit. The first part is the meeting, and then it goes into a new story of creation, which is every time I read this book, and I'm going to send one to you, Angel, as a gift, or maybe David will. It's so deep that I always say I think it was 17 people who wrote this. But the gospel of the universe, the emergence of the web of life, the book of ancient mind, the book of modern mind, the gospel of planetary mind, going into the great transformation, the stories of modern mind, and the personal story and connecting with the infinite. So it is really, really powerful, David, how, what you've created here. Angel, is it okay with you if David reads another little bit from his book?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Go for it, David. If there's anyone you want me to read with you, I will, but, do whatever you want. It's your show.
Is there a particular... Well, okay, this part actually is kind of going on the theme that we were just talking about.
Perfect.
And here they're talking about, they're going back and forth about how, are we destroying the... Well, one thing that the sage says is that I've heard it argued that while we are destroying the web of life, its ability to sustain us, perhaps driving ourselves to extinction, we're not destroying the planet. The infinite has its ways, and perhaps planetary mind is a seed that is ultimately not destined to flourish. Earth will then continue on her own creative dance through the galaxy and discover her destiny without us. And the seeker responds, well, that sounds sad. And I'm going to break from there and say, yes, that sounds sad. And the sage response is, that's sad to me too. And yet perhaps that is the journey that Earth is to go on. It is a mystery. Whether it's sad or happy, it's almost like we have to watch how our egoic reaction is to a lot of the news, so we don't go. So we just say, well, wait a minute, what is real here? But I don't want to go too far into that because we could spend another hour on that thought. But let's see. I've even heard the idea, said the sage, that humanity is supposed to cause this extinction so that the web of life can regenerate anew and Earth can move on to her next venture. Do you believe that, said the seeker? The sage shook her head. Not for a moment, for there are also no guarantees that the web of life will regenerate. And what if the universe actually somehow needs us to create a new level of evolution, to consciously create new levels of cooperation and complexity? I've chosen not to sit by and watch as modern mind tears the web of life to pieces. I've chosen instead to work to change the story of modern mind and to learn and teach what I can about how to live in harmony with the web of life. And my hunch is that the odds are in favor of humanity's evolution. I doubt anyone can imagine what possibilities await us as planetary mind awakens, just as the monarch caterpillar, who thinks the universe is a single tree, cannot imagine the vast distances she will travel when she emerges from her cocoon. That sounds fantastic. To me, the choice is obvious. Even without guarantees, even with the possibility that we may be too late, which path calls to my higher self? Which path sounds more fun? So.
Yay! Beautiful.
Yeah, and not being attached. I think that's so important. Not being attached to what's what from a mind perspective, from a mental perspective, from the ideas that are coming to us from media. I mean, let's say the media that we are all exposed to. Mm-hmm. So how do we? Is it possible to use nature itself, not to be so attached to what's happening around us?
It's possible to use nature. Mm-hmm. In what sense of using it? You mean as far as using it for ourselves, or for how we're using it as a larger society, how it's being used?
Yeah, how it's being used. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Oh, hang on a second. Let me find that. There's another point in here that the sage ask about that. Break the bread. Let's see.
Do you want me to read sage for you or no?
This is one I found it. This is one that's really I found really It's it gets back into the mystery of how do you be in the web of life. For me, the word, what is a better word than resource? We use that term resource, and the term itself separates us from the web of life. We view it as a resource, as it to serve humanity, and it's only for humanity's use. And the seeker asks the sage, well, what's a better word than resource? And the sage answered, for me, it's the word bounty. The web of life, earth, and all the universe are sacred, worthy of respect, worthy of our reverence and awe. The web of life, which offers its bounty to us that we might live, is deserving of our deepest respect and gratitude. And then the sage asks, how does that work? Are you saying we can't cut down trees to build houses? Not at all, says the sage. Nor does it mean that we cannot harvest food, farm the soil, or fish the streams and oceans. As one sage put it, to live, we must daily break the body and shed the blood of the web of life. What it does mean is this: when we cut down trees, fish the waters, break the soil, and kill for food, we do so reverently and with gratitude, as well as intelligently and mindfully, in the ways that are in harmony with the lessons of the web of life, in ways that help the web of life replenish itself. This transformation we're going through does not give us a technological challenge as much as it gives us a spiritual challenge. The challenge of acknowledging Earth's aliveness and seeing the web of life as sacred, and embracing this sacred sense of sacredness as one of our deepest values as we go through our lives. So yes, I mean, it's not like we can't use what the bounty of the web of life for ourselves. It's how we're doing it that becomes dysfunctional. It's how we're creating our systems and our structures that cause a dysfunction of the web of life. And we're facing some pretty challenging times. So Angel, does that get to you? I'm not sure if I actually got to your question, but I think I did.
You did. Thank you.
Okay.
I want to just say thank you so much for that shift. And if there's with Mindalia TV, we always like to have these sort of takeaways. And one thing that I would say is for today, for you to say to us and to remind me that specific shift in a word, that nothing we see around us is a resource, and everything we see around us is the bounty. That shift in those two, that one word to shift always to that other word. If it's just sort of like I sometimes say to people, it's easier to say, or it's better to say, we get to do something, in other words, instead of we have to do it. So to shift the resources, and that word resource is used constantly in our lexicon everywhere on every planet practically, or on every continent. And yet if we shift that we just know it is the bounty, I think even that word, don't you think, Angel, will change our hearts, and certainly to teach that to our kids, to our teenage kids and our little kids, and our it just would shift our usage and again, even the word usage. It's just so thank you.
Absolutely, the change of perspective. And if we started doing that with our own kids, imagine. I mean, it's just amazing. All the kids talking in terms of bounties, of rewards from nature, of rewards of who we really are. We really are, that's completely different conversation. Unfortunately, we have to wrap it up. But, David, where can we find you online? How can we get to know more besides on your book? Where can we find your book?
You can simply do a web search on the Holy Universe, and that'll get you there. There is a web link called theholyuniverse.com that you can go to, and from there you can find out more about what I've done. And if you're interested in getting a copy of the book, sure, you can go there too. So that's it. And as Sunny pointed out too, she's been one of the, how do you describe her? The burning souls of support for me for years. And we're now working on what is the next step for this project.
Yes.
We're hoping to have a surprise come forth I don't know, Sunny. Should I say anything more?
Yes,
Yeah,
well, our movie, yes, The Smallest Vessel, which
And-
is found in this book. It is a story within a story, and it is a beautiful, beautiful thing that our dear friend Christy Reeves is part of our trio, our triangle. So yes, and again, people, I would highly recommend you check out this book and read it like a novel. It looks like poetry, but it's actually a story from beginning to end. And I highly recommend any and all people. And David, I hope Angel would love to have you come back and further chat.
Oh yeah, that'd be great. Yes.
Oh, we would love to. Absolutely. So thank you. Thank you very much, David, for accepting our invitation and for being with us today and for sharing so much and for changing so many lives, really. Amazing. Thank you.
You're very welcome, and thank you for inviting me. I appreciate that too.
Thank you, absolutely. And Sunny, awesome. Thank you. How would you like to finish our conversation today?
Gosh, I would love to finish it by just reminding people of everything that we've said, to go to check out Pachamama Alliance, and to go, when I do the magazine for Whole Life Times, this is the article I did, but for Whole Life Times, I always do a Rockin' Resources in the magazine. And when I was going through finding all of the new organizations that are working for the environment, there are so many new things happening. This is covered this month. There are just so many. So guys, you can just go on and just even look. If David and I were talking earlier about passion, none of us can do everything, but we can all do something. And if it's about animals, if it's about water, if it's about planting. Earlier you were talking, Angel, about earthing. There's actually an article in the magazine this month about earthing by Matt Van Diepen, and he really talks about just everything about earthing. And so there's so much we can do that way. But if we do find what our passion is, just dive in and go online, and you'll find 15 organizations that are already doing it. Thank the God above and below and all around us, and go and play with them. That's what I want to. That's my word for today. Go and play in your community, in your tribe, and with joy and fun and excitement, and use the bounty.
Absolutely.
With reverence.
Thank you. Sunny, how can we find you online, Sunny?
You can find me online, Sunny Chayes. You guys can actually send me letters and any information that you want at sunnychayes@gmail.com or at sunny@let'simagine.live. And of course, here you can find me on Solutionary Sundays on ABC and in the Whole Life Times magazine. So you can also reach out to me there. And here next week on Thursday.
Exactly. Next week on Thursday. Thank you very much, Sunny. Great pleasure to be with you again.
Thank you.
I thank you again to David for being with us today. And again, this is Angel Reba with Mindalia TV. Thank you very much, everybody, for being with us today. Thank you for allowing us to share this incredible message today with you. And we hope that you have enjoyed it as much as we have. Hope to see you soon. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.